Welcome to Off the Rails. As you can see, it's a little bit more different today.
Super off the rails, if you would say.
I mean, we're not in the heat right now either.
No, it is nice. I do like being inside for this a little bit more than being out in the shed, but I do miss the big guy. Kind of wish he was here. So
well, he does too. As he left, he's like, I'm getting a lot of FOMO now. I was like, why do you have a fear of masturbating in the outdoors? Like, that's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I masturbated in the outdoors like 3 times today. I don't know why you'd have a fear of it.
And in between the shows, normally we have to like step outside, and of course, like we get pent up aggression. So
yeah,
just
so you
jerk it in the corner.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand it. If that's what he was looking for, was spending his Friday getting a little bit of FOMO or a little bit of OMO.
Omo.
Man, I don't know. It's just Mo.
Just
He's
Mo.
getting a little Mo. And he doesn't get to get it. But have fun in Florida, big guy. I know you are.
Yeah, hopefully the kids aren't stressing you out too much.
I mean, he's got cigarettes and he's got booze. So
I mean, what else do you need in life?
Exactly. He's just, hey, go play in the sand. I'm gonna get some alcohol in me. That's what I would do. But I'm also not a parent, so.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine like taking 3 kids on a vacation. Oh my god.
I mean, I have no level of reference because the longest I go is with my godchild, and we go like 2 hours away. But she also likes climbing or like being outside and adventuring when we climb, so she's cool with it.
There was a big thing of like there was a big difference between 1 child, 2 children, and 3 children.
Oh yeah,
because at 2 they prefer to entertain each other. Mm-hmm. At 3 it's a competition for attention.
True.
And at 1, I mean, they're just happy to be there.
But also, yeah, I was an only child, so that was me.
I was an only child too.
Like you grew up an only child, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any. I don't want to offend him, but I don't have any full blood siblings.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
My brother and sister are half blood.
Well, I have a.
They're mudbloods.
I do have a stepsister, but like the only experience that like we had together growing up was we lived in the same house when I was 12 for about 11 months, and that was about it. I think she was like a senior in high school when I was 12 years old. So but after that, like we didn't actually like build a close relationship until it was like right after I graduated high school. But she's really cool. Like we've been through a lot of weird times and had a lot of really deep conversations, which is really, really cool. But
yeah, it's weird when you get older and then like I'm just now into the age of having adult relationships with family members.
Yeah, like it's weird. It's a humbling experience becoming an adult and then seeing the people you looked up to
kind of
as an adult.
Well, not only that, but they let down their guard and their character because they were just like, oh, you're not kidding anymore. I don't have to pretend to be like, oh, hey. Like,
no, that's the thing. Is like, yeah, you actually like
you see them for who they are as a person instead of who they are as a parental figure.
Yeah, exactly.
Or as a brother, sister,
authority figure, or something like that. Yeah, it's really strange, and it can be humbling and it can be disappointing. Yeah, but it can also be really cool because like my uncle, like my mom, like as my mom and I have gotten older, like my mom's one of my best friends now. Mm-hmm. Like we get along really, really. I mean, we are completely polar opposites, but we get along really, really well, and we have a good time together. But her brother, my uncle, who lived in Dallas, like I always looked up to him growing up because I just thought he was cool. But he always was good. But even as an adult, like I'm like, you're cool. Like I like drinking with you. Like I like talking about whatever. Like because he's the guy who in my eyes, invented the game. I think I talked about it on one of the episodes, like what we could do for a game. But it's where you say the lyrics and other people have to guess what they are instead of like singing lyrics for a song.
Oh, you just say it monotone.
Yeah, you just say them or just say them completely different, a different pentameter than the song is in.
Did you see the episode where I didn't make the game. I saw the game played and I saw it on YouTube and I thought it was really funny where you take the lyrics of a song and you take them into Google Translate. Then from Google Translate, you like take it from like English to Arabic to Spanish to French to Croatian to Samoan, and then back to English. Then you read it back to them, and they have to guess like the song.
But I've never seen that, but that sounds really fun.
I had so much fun making it because like it was like living on a prayer turned out really weird.
Oh, I bet.
Like, there's so many things where like when you use metaphors in English, they don't translate.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's other metaphors in other languages that when they come, they do not translate to English.
Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have done Jesse's Girl. That would have come out so well. Or Stacy's mom.
Oh, I think Stacy's mom might
Stacy's
have
mom
done it.
probably would have been funny.
Like speaking of language, like there's an episode of Adventure Time. It's a cartoon on Cartoon Network.
I know Adventure Time.
Yeah, okay. You kind of gave me, but
no, I was just like, oh, Adventure Time. I forgot about them.
Oh, that's a great show. So Jake's girlfriend, Lady Rainicorn, speaks Korean.
Yes.
I remember that. And there's an episode where like Finn is hanging out with Rainicorn and Jake when they're on a date, and he's kind of getting jealous because they can talk back and forth to each other in Korean, but Finn can't understand. But Lady Rainicorn tells a really funny joke, and Jake is like, it just doesn't translate well. You wouldn't get it. And one of our friends is Korean. Like, he moved here from Korea, and his whole we were like, Jay, what does he say? What does he say? And he's like, it really doesn't translate well. You wouldn't get it. And we're just like, oh, come on.
Oh, you can't have that inside joke.
Yeah, like he's like it's funny in Korean, but he's like it doesn't translate it to English well at all.
That is a thing of like when you're trying to translate things, like you really lose the actual meaning of it, because like people put, like when people formulate a sentence, they put so much of their own personality into the way they just twist it around and use
inflection
their words
and everything like that.
Yeah, so when you're using metaphors and analogies to things and everything, it doesn't translate. And also, you use your experiences and the things you know, like locations and names. So I mean, we could bring up a name of some, like we could bring up a name from somebody locally, and then someone in New York would be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So it's just like location definitely is a big part of language in general. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird how things don't translate. Like there's words that don't exist, and like
that's weird to think, right?
Yeah.
Like there's like in some cultures there just aren't words for things. Like words are still being formulated, and yet the English language is so frozen. Like we don't have new words.
Oh, I mean, we do.
We do,
I mean, it's slang. That is the evolution of English, is slang. Like, because
That's the evolution of like. Well, I feel like slang is more along the lines of one culture trying to formulate to American culture, and then it's never 100%. Like you never lose all of you to become.
Well, I mean, like look
American.
at words like that we like radical, like awesome, like just basic things that we take. Like that I'm saying that we say, like dope, like saying
that
like,
is a weird lexicon.
like sick, like all of the things is all like the majority of. It's like saying hang loose. Like it's any type of colloquialism.
And none of that can be translated.
I think it all.
Like if I went to, let's say Singapore, and I was like "Cowabunga, my dudes," they'd probably be like, "What the fuck are you talking?"
I don't know.
Actually, you know what's I when I was in Singapore, actually they'd probably join in because a lot of them are. Watch, what'd you say?
It's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Who hasn't seen it? It's a worldwide phenomenon.
But if I was like, hang loose, brah, in like a foreign country, they'd be like, who is this guy?
I mean,
who let him in here?
I think hang loose is a little bit more widespread than that.
Or it's like, dude,
it's
that
like
was sick,
80s
nasty.
thing. Like
that shit was dope.
That shit was dope.
She was dope AF.
I think the next the next iteration of slang that's going to happen is going to be like e-slang, like from like pog. I started saying it ironically.
I hate it so much.
Dude,
but the more you do it ironically, the more you start doing it unironically, and then you just adapt to it.
Exactly, because that's how language
and
evolves.
And people like me, they're like really trying to stay away from it. I'm just not going to adapt to it because I refuse to do it ironically.
I like it.
I've done it a couple times ironically, but then I'm just like, I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, I didn't like that.
Weird champ.
Because I have a buddy that non-ironically constantly goes, oh, that was poggers.
I mean, it's.
I'm like, man.
But is he a gamer? Is he a streamer? Does he
he's a gamer.
I mean, that's the thing.
He's a very hard worker. Like he works the majority of his time.
But I mean, he
does it to his coworkers, and they don't know what it is because he works with people that are like, mid-30s and don't like electronics.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's the working class.
Well, like I said, I feel like I single-handedly brought hang loose to be a thing at my job because when I started doing it, like people were just like, huh?
It's addicting.
Like I haven't seen it in so long, and but that's like my go-to is just like a lot of people are like thumbs up or like my whole like if anybody even says hi, I'm just like what up, dude?
Exactly. It's a good vibe. Of like when I was in basic training in Cali, like not in basic training because of course if you did this in basic training, they would like beat you with guns. Like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Just take you by the hand, beat you. But no, a lot of like shooting range, like you can't hear them, so they'd be like,
"Yep,"
just to let you know, like affirmative.
Yeah. Like,
so when
everything's A-okay.
And I mean, Okinawa, like southern Japan, it's a small island. It it has the same kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Of like you're in the heat, it's muggy, it's humid, and you're sitting there. So like when you're the screen goes off.
Oh, okay.
It likes to go to sleep. It's tired.
Understandable.
But a lot of the time, like we're tired. It has that kind of coastal feeling. So if someone's like tell you to do something, you're all just like, got it, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when I was a Lance and my corps would be like, hey, Cavalier, go do this. I'd be like, gotcha, Corporal. Just go out and do it.
Hey, there you go.
And so yeah, it's a vibe to let you know, like, because sometimes like this can be taken oddly of just
sarcastically or something like, especially
like,
yeah. That's when I'm being like I do that if I'm being a jerk. I'm just like, all right, dude,
I'm petty.
it.
Yeah, I'm petty. Where I'm just like, someone's like, how you doing? I'm like,
no, it's usually like
doing great.
That's usually a response to when like someone has asked me to do something that I'm already on it. I'm just like, dude,
oh yeah,
fucking got it. Like that's when if the thumbs ups happens, that's when it's either I'm either frustrated or I'm just like, just leave me the fuck alone. It's gonna get done.
I do it more when I'm super energetic. I do like a really energetic thumbs up. Someone's like, how you doing? I'm just like,
always hang loose. Always hanging loose.
Hang loose is when I'm like I'm swiftly moving and someone's like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like,
nah, let's go to.
Or I'm like I'm already doing something. My boss like, hey, after that, can you go do something? I'm like, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I like Cali culture, but I like to avoid the parts that go a little bit too far. Sometimes like.
You want to appropriate Californian culture, but you don't want to be Californian. Is that what you're saying?
I enjoy I want to adopt the beach vibe, but then I don't want to adopt its politics.
Well, I'm a goddamn Californian, Jake.
You're on the wrong part of town. Not really, actually. Actually, people like when you think of small town area, people don't really think of diversity as much, or people don't think of as much of an accepting nature. They think of typical, not typical, but like stereotypical redneck, like a minority has come into our town and we're very unhappy about it. There's like, we don't like your kind around here.
We're gonna put a big lowercase t in your yard and set it on fire. For time to leave.
Because that's what Jesus would want.
Nah, it's exactly.
But no, like honestly, like this area is super accepting of people.
It is at times, and then it isn't at times. I think it's just I've seen both ends of the scale around here. Dated women of color and been around, and it's still is a lot of looks, a lot of comments, a lot of stuff.
It's hard to get away from that because even in places that are super accepting, there's always people that conform to the crowd.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying it's like. When I came
to the crowd,
because like I said, I live in Tulsa, I live in Oklahoma City. Haven't been in Rogers County for like 10 years, a little less than that. I'd say like 9 years, 8 years. But when I came back, I was surprised that it was still a lot of the same. Like I felt like I had like a lot of people that I knew growing up that didn't leave. Didn't change.
That's small town syndrome.
Yeah. But I came back, and that's the thing is like everyone who I talk to at work, when they get me, they're like, "Dude, you're so liberal, you're so," and I'm like, I don't really think I'm that. I got progressive thoughts. Don't get me wrong.
Well, but you've experienced life. Not saying that like living in a small people are perfectly happy living in a small town, but like you're in a bubble. You're 100% in a bubble, and if you don't have to expand out of it. If you're happy in your bubble, stay in your bubble.
Go for it. But don't complain.
But from my experience of when I was in my little bubble and when I got out of my bubble, I'm like, my God, this is so much better. Like it's better, but it's a double-edged blade where like you have to take the bad with the good of when you experience the world and you experience other cultures. Every culture is like ours, where it has a lot of good things and then has not a lot, but quite a few bad things.
Yeah, everything's good, everything's bad.
Yeah,
That's
so
part
you're
of
sitting
it.
there and, like, I mean, I didn't like that if you go to Singapore and you're openly gay, you get lynched in the street.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
And I was like, I'm on a ship full of sailors, and the majority of them have tried to have sex with me, so I think that they're not going to do too well. Which, by the way, they hit it well. Like, I mean, there was one guy, I can't remember his name, but he just looked like a Frank. He had like he had a Frank head, and he had the like Ned Flanders mustache.
Yeah.
He looks like a Frank. But gayest guy I've ever met.
Well, like I said,
He was like, "You want to feel this mustache tickle you?" I'm like, "Stop."
I don't think
We're playing Smash Bros. I don't want to smash, bro.
I don't think looks has anything to do with it because, like I said, I am technically like 50% gay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's whatever. Look doesn't have any, like, some of the straightest, most, like, what you would think heterosexual men.
No, but I didn't think he could hide his walk.
Oh, I mean, you can still, like, that's the thing. Like I know guys who are, like, more manly than me in every sense of the word, but
Okay.
it doesn't.
Or at least bi.
It doesn't matter. It's just you like what you like.
I know,
I don't think. But I mean, yeah, there is stereotypes, but there's stereotypes for everything.
Yeah. And he was the without the looks, he was the stereotype. Heavy. Actually, a lot of men that hit on me are the heavy stereotype.
But I mean, that's the other thing though too is in the armed forces, it's still kind of it's not don't ask, don't tell anymore, but it's still kind of like you're in a frat, you're in a bro environment, and
they don't care anymore.
I mean, they say they don't care anymore, but these are kids who also probably grew up in environments where they did hide it for so long, and then they got to be them. But so especially being in a place where you can get in big trouble for it, you can go back into defensive hide mode, and I'm sure it's an uncomfortable experience to have to do that. I'm sure that's not fun, but I mean, you got to do what you got to do to survive.
I want to take psychedelics.
It's pretty good. Start with shrooms. That's all I'm going to say. Start shrooms. Do shrooms first, and then after you have a good shrooms trip, then you pick where you want to go from there.
There is a company called MAPS, and it's a psychedelic research company. And what they do is they help veterans with PTSD, like people that have come back from war, people that have come back from losing a loved one or severe trauma, severe injury. And, they also help with people that are homeless, but they just can't bring themselves back up. And the research shows that this, psychedelics taken properly in a controlled environment where, someone is basically leading you through your trip and then giving you, an hour. And then after that hour, come back and then, they were like, okay, now tell me in your words and in your mind what happened to you and how you took it and how you now think you're different or how you think it's going to portray to what you're going to do in the future. And the research was fascinating, because I never really thought of psychedelics until recently as a way of basically bringing really bad experiences or issues that you have personally, inside your own head, bring it to the surface and then dealing with it. You ever taken ecstasy?
Yes.
I haven't taken any psychedelics, sadly. But what they said was it's ironic that ecstasy is named ecstasy, because what it actually does, it brings all these traumatic things to the surface, but once you deal with it, you have such a weight lifted off of you. But then a lot of people are just like, oh, no, I don't want to feel that right now, and they push it down. But that makes it worse to where they feel it for they're extending the time that it should take to heal because they're suppressing it because they're taking it as a party drug and not as a way to heal something.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like you can use drugs as a coping mechanism or you can use drugs as a coping tool. And I am a firm believer in the magic and the capabilities and healing proponents of psychedelic mushrooms. Psilocybin is a very, very magical chemical. I've done tons and tons of research on it. I'm actually very, very interested in starting doing microdosing. I've been prescribed several different anxiety and depression medications over my life. and all of them come with terrible, terrible side effects.
Every time.
And with the research that I've done and the studies that are being done with daily microdosing of psilocybin,
they're phenomenal. Like they're going amazingly well. And they're in their first real case right now.
There's quite a few actually. There's like 3 or 4 big studies that have.
But aren't they going through their first like category 3 or like I don't know the classification, but like they're on their very first like case of this magnitude. I think it's like a. I wish I remember the classification of it.
I listened.
It's like a case there, category 3.
I'm not sure about that. On what like level rating. I do know that there have been in the past 2 months, because this was on NPR. I was listening to NPR like it was last month, I think, and it was an episode. It was an episode of Science Fridays, and they were talking about psilocybin mushrooms, and there was 3 heads of 3 big case studies that were going through. 2 that had already finished and had government like FDA backing on them to where to be applied in like you said like controlled therapy environments and things like that. And that's the other part of it is like I've seen great, like I said, research that has provided great feedback on the effects and helping people. What it is it helps you break down your ego. And the people that have the hardest time breaking through PTSD, breaking through those things, it's an ego thing. I mean, I've suffered it for myself. It's what ruined my life for many years.
Well, because ego plays in like. Because when you say ego, I mean, ego is so many things that tie into
I mean, ego is like, as in pride, as in I can solve this, I can get help, this isn't as big as it is. But the thing is, everything is bigger than it is anyways, especially if it affected you, it was bigger than you think it is.
Yeah. If you think about it the next day, then it's probably something big.
If it's not something you forget about, it's bigger than you think it is. It's there for a reason. You need to deal with it.
Exactly.
But a lot of people don't, and that's also part of the mental health stigma. That's there's so many other
such
things.
A bad mental health from the surge of the past couple generations of youth that come out, where it's just the word depression, anxiety was just used so often, and I heard at least like 10 people say it every single day, no matter where I went. And not to say that these people did or didn't have it, but it was used as an excuse for anything that happened, especially in people that are teenagers. And anything that happened, every little thing was, every little thing that would happen would break them down. Where it's just like they just can't. They couldn't handle anything happening. Any minor event was the biggest situation for them, which I think, because I mentioned how when kids, like little kids, are upset, I talked to you guys. I was like, yeah, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. This is literally the worst thing that's ever happened in their life. But once you're 16, I know you're very hormonal, but
that's what plays it at that point is hormonal, and your brain is not developed. Your brain is still developing.
Your brain, and the big thing is the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah, like that. Yeah,
that's what gives you the sense of responsibility and the sense of like, oh, I probably shouldn't do that.
No, exactly. Like it's impulse control is not there yet. Like, and that is what through, and I mean also, like I said, I do believe that we live in a time where it's built to where it's easier to be depressed. It's easier to, just because we're so connected, but we're still so disconnected. It's easier to feel.
I was going to say, I can guarantee you anyone could go to a doctor right now and get diagnosed with at least like 3 things.
Oh, yeah.
But then all these different, is it diagnosis?
It's just diagnoses.
All these different diagnoses say, like, they're just generic things. Like, of course, there's like major depressive disorder, severe anxiety, regular anxiety. Like those are things that, yes, anxiety is normal, but some people have a severe case of it. Same thing with depression. But a lot of these things, like, they're giving out medications for things that they're supposed to feel and deal with, but they're basically saying like, oh no, you shouldn't have to feel anything ever. Like, just if you're feeling something, that's bad. Take a medication for it. And the only thing that the medications aren't giving you, actually, some things are making you feel happy, but those things are heavy drugs.
how it, in my opinion, and in the opinion of any therapist or any like person who legitimately works in the mental health field, is if you are diagnosed and you have these, what you do is therapy is what you go through to fix the problem. Medication is what you use to help with the symptoms of the problem. Because if you don't,
I feel like you're just suppressing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're just taking medication for your mental health issues and you're not in therapy, then you're not cognitively looking at what is causing you these problems. Your problem is just masked.
Yeah, no. You're standing outside your house. Yeah. Your house is on fire. So what you're doing is you're closing the door and being like, well, no fire.
Yeah, it's just
and eventually that fire is going to catch the whole house and then catch the front door and then catch you.
But I mean, that's the other thing is like there's a lot of times where you do need the medication but if you're on the medication, I look at it this way. When I go to therapy, the past few therapists that I've been with, I've told them straight up front. I was like, hey, I do not want medication. I want to work through this together. There have also been times in the past 5 years where I couldn't get a therapist, but I could get medication. So I would get medication, fully understanding that it was only masking my problem to come off,
to buy time to get to the therapist.
Yeah, and that was my last stint. Like I was on, what was I was on? It wasn't Prozac. It was Celexa. I was on Celexa for like 9 months, and it just got to the point where I was on medication and I knew it was affecting me. I couldn't function. Like I was able to do things, but I wasn't able to feel things anymore. So I was like, all right, time to taper off the medication, time to get figured out and figure out another way about this. So I get it. Like I said, I understand medication, but like I said, I truly understand that if you're on medication and you have the opportunity to be in therapy to actually try and fix the problem, not just take the medication and forget about the problem, because that doesn't solve anything. It just makes things disappear for a while, just for a while, not for long, just for a while.
To close out this end of the conversation, this is going to end it on a sad note, kind of a sad note, but well, my issue was when I got initially injured in the Marine Corps, they put me on antidepressants and then anti-anxiety. And they put me on anti-inflammatory, and then they put me on sleep medication, and they put me on what was the other one? And a heavy pain medication. So,
was it benzo or opiate based?
Benzo.
Okay. Whoa. Damn. Okay.
Yeah, and 2 of them, I think the anti-inflammatory and the anxiety were experimental. I hope it wasn't the anxiety and the depression that were experimental. But 2 of them gave me severe short-term memory loss where I wasn't wearing socks. I wasn't I would come into work with like boots, trousers, no socks. I would come in forgetting my undershirt underneath my blouse. I would get scolded for not doing things that I was told to do that I wouldn't remember, and I was being scolded by people who I didn't remember their names. I'm just like, my guy, you're a face to me, like, right?
Yeah.
You're just a face that's yelling, and I don't understand what's happening right now, and like words aren't fully processing. At the height of it, I had to take all these medications. I think like there was like 4 of one, 2 of the other, and I had to take them like 6 times, not 6 times, every 6 hours. So it's a lot of medication in one day. There was literal times I was sitting there, eyes wide, like almost not blinking and just drooling, sitting in a chair. And during that time, like, I gained so much weight because I couldn't walk without a cane. I couldn't exercise. And on this medication, I couldn't do things. I wasn't authorized to do things. I wasn't authorized to drive a vehicle. So I had to try to get my other Marines to take me, but they were busy. And I was so frowned upon for my situation because I went from being in shape, like I would literally be like I'd be running down the street from the barracks to our not the office, but the hangar. I don't know how I forgot the word, the hangar.
That's fine.
But it was like a 1.5 mile run that I would go there just to grab a water bottle and then run back just to get a workout in. I went from that to 245 pounds, like just not being able to walk, not being able to talk. The only thing I was good for was like sewing people's uniforms back together.
Damn it.
That's all I could do, and I wasn't authorized to do it, but they let me do it because they were probably afraid I was going to kill myself if I did it.
I need a job. I need something.
But because of the situation that I was put in, like they hated me, so they didn't want to drive me. So a lot of times they'd be like everyone would be there, and they're like, oh, we're too busy.
Yeah.
So I would have to pay for a taxi, which was a $20 drive there and then a $20 drive back. I'd have to do that 3 times a week, and I'd do that for 2 years.
Damn it.
And then I would be called fat fuck and useless and a waste of space, and my master sergeant said I wasn't a real Marine. Like, all these situations to the point where I was like, I want to take more of my medication, because when I'm not on my medication and I have to actually deal with this interaction and I'm coming off of my medication.
It's a bad time.
Like, yeah, like when you have to do the survey at a therapist's office, I was in the red. They were just like, this is dangerous. I'm like, I don't want to die. I'm just really unhappy about my situation right now.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't ideal. And they also,
this is not, I'm not being a human right now. I'm being a vegetable.
I would say that a lot. I'm like, I'm not a person. I'm literally just a zombie that's drooling on himself. But so I came home and I refuse to take medication. Like, I take my vitamins, my D3, magnesium, potassium, iron, all the good stuff. My osteobiflix, so my joints don't hurt when it rains outside. But and then I'm sad that a lot of things I want to do I have to get drug tested for, and like just I only smoke marijuana, but I have a medical card. But it's not good enough for a lot of places, just because it's still was a level 1 substance, right?
Yeah, the federal issue is still an issue.
It's still level 1, even though the actual classification says that level 1 substances have no medical value, but yet we're using it in so many things now. Like there's hemp.
Well, it's a state thing versus a federal thing. Like until
but every state has like CBD products.
Oh yeah, I mean
every state, they've had CBD products for a long time before this is even an issue.
Well, because it's not the marijuana, it's the THC, is what the issue is, and CBD has it's supposed to be less than 0.004% THC.
You can get CBDs. You can get CBD joints.
Well, I mean, you can, but I'm saying it doesn't have THC in it. It doesn't get you high. Like CBD, all CBD does is either make me just feel like normal, like I just feel regular, or I'm like, I'm kind of tired. That's all it does. Like I mean, I've had friends who say it does great things for them, but
those friends probably have like joint pain or like.
Tell me I don't got joint pain.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
especially as much moving as you do. Yeah.
Like I'm an achy man.
Speaking of moving, so yeah, this week on Monday I had my very first audition. Nailed it. I was the only one that had their lines memorized.
Oh, good.
And I was the only one that had a professional backdrop up. I was the only one that was dressed like I was definitely dressed in style, and by style I mean I had my denim pants and my denim jacket with my necklace hanging, and they loved it.
You're looking like fucking Canadian tuxedo man.
Well, yeah, because from what I hear is like it's such an old look that nobody wears, and I pull it off well apparently.
All right,
like, people are just like, you look really good in that. I'm like, people are just like, people have told me that they wouldn't expect me to look good in it because they don't expect people to wear denim on denim. But I love it. I mean, I think it looks great when I wear it.
There you go.
I love it. And then, so the first one went well. I got my call back like almost immediately. And then the second one went really well as well. That we had on, the audition was on Wednesday. The meeting was on Thursday for the second audition. But to progress any further, I had to take classes. But to take classes costs $2,600.
That's how they get you.
But you know what happened today?
What happened today?
New York City Conservatory of Dramatic Arts called me.
Okay.
And they want me to audition to go to New York City and go to their school.
And pay how much?
It wouldn't come anything out of my pocket.
I hope you get it.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed for you, sir.
If I don't get the Yellow Ribbon program, which is a veteran program, so that anything that benefits doesn't cover, they would cover. If I don't get that, I'll have to pay $8,000 in a year. But they would give me a little over $3,200 a month for housing allowance, and I was already looking at apartments because I wanted to see like, because I told him that if I was going to do this, it wouldn't even be until like I would enroll for the spring February 2022. But when I was looking at apartments, they're pricey for New York City.
It's very expensive to live in New York
And the
City.
school's in Manhattan, and I have to think about like transportation.
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting a car in New York City.
No, you're not getting a car in New York City.
Isn't there like a lot of places in New York City you can't even drive a car in anymore? Like they're
it's
trying
not
to
worth
go.
it. It's not worth it.
I think they're doing a very like they're really trying to go against not public transportation, but individual transportation of like motor vehicles. I think they're trying to get rid of vehicles, except for like buses.
I mean, if you go to public transportation in New York City is the way to go, be it the bus, be it the subway, be it whatever, taxi, Uber, whatever. Because just owning a car in New York is not a viable thing because you have to pay for parking everywhere. It costs so much more to insure that car. It costs so much more for your title and registration fees. And then you got to do inspections every year. It's not like Oklahoma.
But the apartments look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they definitely look their value. Like, the ones I saw, they were like $2,400 a month. And they was still like one bedroom, one bath with a kitchen. I was like, yeah, but it looks good. Yeah. Like, I'd bring someone to it.
My cousin and his wife, they live in New York City. And
someone hook me up.
It doesn't work that way.
They must know them. They live there.
So what they did is New York City has a housing lottery that you can apply for, and it
sounds reliable.
I mean, some people live in New York their whole life and never win it.
I mean, that's why I said I heard lottery. I was like, it sounds reliable. That's good.
They lived in New York for less than a year, and they won it.
Oh my God!
They live in.
It's one of those people.
They live in a building where I think it's a 17-story building.
And they own it.
I think like the average rent in the building is like $3,400 to $3,700 a month, and they pay $1,100 a month, and the most they could ever pay is like $1,200 a month, and they have it at that price as long as they live in New York, as long as they want to live there. They get that price in that apartment.
What do they do to afford that?
He is a freelance game designer and does like graphics design and web work, web development, stuff like that.
So everything I wanted to do when I was 16.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was doing, MySpace and stuff when MySpace was blowing up as a kid, like doing all the coding for that.
Did he get any stock in it?
No. I don't know his financial situation on that. I do know that he has had several games, like I think like 3 games be top 10 on like iTunes or the Apple Play Store. He game devs, like that's what he does. Dropped out of college. He was like going to school and he's like, I already know how to do the stuff that I want to do. I'm just going to do it. And I mean, his wife they moved to New York so his wife could go to art school or finish up art school, and she works at an art gallery, and that's like, I mean, that's the thing is like $1,000 a month in New York is pretty easy to make, and it's pretty cheap. I mean, it's really, really cheap. So, but they actually want to move away from New York. They want to move to Portland.
Everyone wants to move away from New York right now, which is why I'm actually really happy that a lot of people are leaving New York. Because that means there's going to be a lot of apartments open, which means prices might start dropping because of how there's going to be less demand, but more product.
I think everyone's going to want. I think so many more people are going to try and do it.
People have the same exact idea.
New York is just always going to be New York. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be busy because there's a lot of people who can't leave New York because they don't have the money to leave New York. They're kind of like stuck in the situation they're in.
First off, how do you not have enough money to leave New York, but you have enough money to be in New York?
If you're living paycheck to paycheck in New York, it's kind of hard to go anywhere. Especially, and a lot of my friends in New York live in apartments like that, like 2-bedroom apartments with like 4 people and 5 people, and they're all scraping it together to make it work.
See, I was about to ask, like, what could I do for work in New York that like would actually be able to pay that rent? Like, thankfully, I have my disability pay. Then I still have 27 months left on my educational benefits, and then I have the Yellow Ribbon program, and then if I want to get any other scholarships or anything, I could just audition for those. But I definitely, I don't want to say I'm so excited because I haven't decided to do it yet. I have, but I haven't. Where like, I think the only thing that's stopping me is the strangeness of this will be the first time that I've gone somewhere else alone, because I've been other places, but I've been other places in the military.
Yeah, under the guard
I've
of the
been
military.
other places on vacation with my family.
Yeah.
This will be the first time where I'm just like, I'm gonna be in New York City for 2 years. Mm-hmm. At minimum.
At a minimum, yeah.
At a minimum for these classes, and then I'm maybe come back to Tulsa for the blooming of the movie scene in Tulsa, or maybe stay in New York and see what they can give me. I don't like the idea of staying in New York just because I don't like that big of a city.
Yeah. It's that is one thing that
I'm going from 0 to 100.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, if you move from here, it's going to be an experience.
I mean, I lived in Houston, Texas for a couple of years.
That's completely different.
But yeah, I mean Houston, Texas, it's a big city. It's an always growing city, but it's not as stacked. Houston, Texas is not stacked.
It's that population.
Stacked.
Population density is different than just population. Crazy.
Surprised that Los Angeles has such a big population, but they're not stacked.
Well, it's because of population density. It's a huge county. Square mileage.
It is a huge county, so I guess they're kind of cheating.
Look at, like I said, it's population. Per people per square mile is different.
Per capita.
Per capita is per person. Per capita, when you say per capita, that's like per person.
Per capita.
Like when you say like $1,000 per capita, like per
I
capita.
was looking to something that was like like COVID cases per capita, and they were talking about counties.
Highest
per capita in counties. Now, I'm not saying that they're right, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm just saying that me as a brainless human being, not a brainless, but me with my monkey brain, I hear things, I repeat things, because that is how it goes. And then I correct myself when I figure out that I'm stupid.
For each head.
God, I get
per person. Automatically means per person. Per capita. Per person.
So they were wrong.
The highest the highest COVID per person? Like if they had the highest COVID per person, yeah, I mean it works.
I guess that makes, because they're talking about.
I just don't use it. I only I think I use it like when I think per capita for me is like kind of like
money?
Well, not just money, but like that's
what I usually heard.
Like how many cars per capita? Like when you average things out. Like when I think of per capita, I think of averages per person. Like it's like 2.5 kids per person is how you make the population grow.
I always love those numbers because like when you hear like, oh, the average person is like 2.5 kids, and it's just the dumb brain of me is just like, where'd the half kid come from?
You don't want to know.
Like honestly, like I guess once you get
averages
into like 4, and then
you got a lot of people who have 1s, you have a lot of people who have 4s, you have a lot of people who have 3s.
It just feels weird to be like, and when I grow up, I hope I have 2.5 kids.
2.5 kids? I don't even think I want a kid.
I want, I think 2, but I think I want it so specific of like I want 1 son and 1 daughter. Mm-hmm. Just because like I want the diversity of like one of everything in the house. I might even like get 1 Cuban, 1 Puerto Rican, 1 Venezuelan.
I don't know if it works that way.
I only want to keep them in like the South American and the more Hispanic culture. Once I go into the other cultures, I don't want them as much.
I don't know how.
No, not on a racist term. More on the fact of just like natural born cookers.
You just want good food.
I want really good food.
You want good food.
I want to be around the Hispanic culture. I want Hispanic culture. California beach vibes.
Just move to Baja, man.
And then I need to get like a California beach bod.
Okay, just move out to Compton. Move out to.
Say Compton.
Yeah, Compton's not Compton anymore.
Oh no. There was a joke, not a joke about that, but there was a story about that. That people was like, yeah, I remember back when Compton was Compton. Now it's just like
Compton.
Yeah, now it's just like, there's a Starbucks, and there's like a gluten-free bread shop. It's like, yeah, it's not the same anymore, and they're like, oh, fucking white people.
Pretty much. Gentrification is what it is. That's the word.
Is it, or is it just higher, like, living, like better living?
It's gentrification. You can get in, you can buy things cheap, and when you can buy things cheap, you can make it more expensive. It's like you buy cheap property.
But people take gentrification and they use it as a term for, white people came in and ruined it.
because it's usually white people who have money who come in and buy the cheap land in black communities and turn it into other stuff, because the people who live in the black communities can't afford to do stuff like that because it's a poor black community or Hispanic community or whatever.
Yeah, and then,
it's just a poor community.
And then it goes from what, say, like for Compton, like it goes from what Compton was to what it is now, and people are upset about it. I'm just like, but
they're not upset.
Nice.
They're not upset about the nice. They're upset that you pushed out an entire class of
culture,
people. A class of people, because
well,
they can't have the money.
If you take into the thought of like,
class
not only are you bringing in the new business, but you're taking out the low wage residents to bring in higher wage residents of the people that own these businesses and the people that are buying product from these businesses.
Gentrification. That's the definition.
I'm trying to think of what would be a, like, I can't think of a way for human nature to do a thing like that properly, like to actually just take a neighborhood and then over time naturally have it just become better. It's almost always like if it's a low wage, low income population, like they almost never just get naturally better.
Well, you have no. That's the thing is
it's so stagnant in like any poor area. It's just so stagnant, and it sucks that like rich people have to come in and then push poor people out to make it a rich area.
Well, that's the thing is they don't have to go about it that way. You can invest in an area, or you can invest in the people, and you can invest in the businesses that are already there. You can invest in the things that are already there to try and help make those things better. But coming in and doing something because a lot of times what happens is things that come in aren't even like wanted in that area at first, and then once you start like adding more things that aren't wanted in that area, then the people are like, well, shit, we got to move. And then rent, like I said, it's not necessarily just a white thing. It's just it's people of wealth coming into lower income areas, buying up the properties, and then that's the other thing that comes in, because lower income areas will have higher homeless rates. And people, when you start bringing in businesses, more law enforcement shows up. Everything comes in, and then it changes the whole dynamic. And I mean, it's good, but for the capitalist side of the idea, but there's a whole other side of people that they're just like, well, shit, what are we gonna do now?
I guess that's because it feels like no matter what you do, there's always going to be a bad side to something, no matter what you do, and the fact that is just nature kind of sucks. And it's almost impossible to, like, it feels like it's almost impossible to accept everything like that to happen and just say, well, it's how it is. Like, you can't fix that. But when it feels like when you say that, then you're being like, oh, well, it shouldn't be fixed. It's like, no, this should be fixed. Like, I don't want a situation where people are getting pushed out of their homes because they feel like it's not their home anymore. I don't want that. I want people who feel like this place is now like I can't afford anything, or feel like you're not accepted somewhere. I don't want that for anybody. But you can't find the perfect answer. The perfect answer is it's non-existent, because there's always going to be a problem.
But there's always it just comes to the point where when it comes to like lower income places like that, I think that if you're going to come in to an environment like that, you don't come in with just your ideas. You need to listen to that community and try and listen to what that community wants, what can help that community. If that's what you're going to do to make a community better, like I said, like if you're going to gentrify a community, you need to listen to that community and give that community what it wants, not what you think is going to make the most money for you.
Yeah, don't do just a business takeover. Like, integrate yourself into the community.
Exactly.
You're
give
not
back to that community that gives you the opportunity to develop.
I think a lot of people do just think of it as this is business, but their business plays like sometimes a very vital role in the community itself. And when you don't put yourself in the community and you're now a new asset that basically takes no part in the community, and you're just a business. You're literally just a place where you get product. You're not. It's not like, oh no, that's Sarah who owns the market. It's like, oh no, that's just Walmart.
No, that's the thing, and that's another. Like I said, especially in low income community, like I think that is how you help. I think. Okay, so it's hard because we've been saying community so much, but take a step back from community, I think the idea of community itself is how you fix a lot of problems. I'm not saying communism, I'm saying community, and the fact that we work together in the area that we're at.
You treat everyone, you treat your community, your group of people that you live near, you work near, that you share your lives near, you treat them basically as family.
Yeah, you work together for the best of that community.
Yeah, it's tribal nature of just like, we're in this together, this is our area. So we're going to do our best to make this area better. And of course, tribes always get destroyed by the stronger force that has more resources.
But that's,
I guess that's kind of human, like that's kind of always taken place of the bigger, not better, but the bigger, stronger, more resource-filled tribe will take over the smaller, weaker tribe.
That's exactly it.
And I'm not saying weak as in the community's weak. I'm saying weak as in like
monetary. They don't have the cash. Like if you don't have
cash,
like cash is king nowadays. They don't have
political and legal power.
Exactly.
They can't. If they tried to sue a company, the company would be like, "We'll take the lawsuit and we'll make it go for years.
Yeah, we'll hold you in court until you can't pay for your lawyer anymore, and then there you go.
Oh, I guess we win.
Yep, exactly.
That's why I always get so afraid of like anything happening legal, where it's like, do I need to sue? Because like, I can't last that long. It'll just be war of attrition, and I'll just be like, I'm not going to have anything left.
There you go.
That always makes me a little nervous. I don't know why. I don't think I do anything that's a little crazy, but
I don't know. I've never thought about suing anybody. I often joke about how I'm going to get hit in a parking lot somewhere so that business can pay my college, but I'd probably never sue.
Well, my thing's usually because of like medication reasons, like something happening, or more along the lines of like a job or something. Like I get injured and they refuse to represent or something like that.
Nah.
It's just like something where it's like my well-being has been harmed because of you.
Yeah. No, if it were that situation, but I don't that situation doesn't cross my mind. I try not to think about that.
It's not like I would sue like a bleach company because I couldn't find a label on a bottle. I would sue if like, like I was at your location and something just fell out of nowhere and crushed my spine.
Yep. Pretty much.
I kind of want my money.
I can't do anything ever again, so yeah. But if I'm like just hurt, it's whatever. If I was like maimed for life, it'd be a different story.
So I do want to say I have a really weird drive right now to like, I don't know what these auditions did to me. But I don't know if I'm just riding a high, which I probably am. But it was so exhilarating to just the second I saw somebody else on the other end of that camera. I was just like putting on a show.
There you go.
And it felt so good. It feels so much different here because if there was someone physically watching me, I would be 10 times the character I am now. When I can see somebody watching, I love it. It's my favorite thing.
Well, I think you got your shit figured out, so probably should just start packing your bags for New York, my guy.
I really could, but I'm in $5,000 of debt, so
$5,000 debt's fine. You're fine.
Because it's one of those things, because like I said before, of like I'm trying to fix a lot of my little things right now, of like I'm definitely trying to fix my impulse control, my money issue, which is a lot of my impulse control. I think maybe there was an issue with my prefrontal cortex. I wonder if I got hit in the head a couple too many times.
Maybe.
Actually is a thing of like if you've received like too many head injuries, or even if you've ride a jet ski too much, it can actually cause you to be like much more impulsive, but also a lot of lines of people being a lot more aggressive, and I'm not really aggressive. But then again, everyone's different, so it could affect me.
You're a Zoomer that got everything you wanted as a kid at instant gratification. That's why you have impulse control. That's why I have impulse control issues, is because I'm a millennial who got everything that I wanted at the moment I wanted it. And now I want to do the same thing.
That is true, because I was born, and then in my developmental years were the times that my family really came into money. So it really was a lot of like, at any time, we're just like, oh, hey, we're going to go here. Or, hey, we're going to go here. Let's go camping. Oh, you want to play guitar? Here's 5 guitars. Oh, you want to play drums? Here's a 12-piece drum set.
Yeah.
So maybe a lot of it is a lot of like, I did get things I wanted as a kid. But there was also like, I wonder if that was also a thing of like, I saw that I could do that. So I lost interest in a lot of things just because I felt like I could do a lot of things. Because like when I was a kid, it was like, I practiced coding all the time. I loved to play video games, and I was good on online games. and I played guitar, and I was pretty good at guitar, and I loved guitar, and I played guitar for people, and people loved it, and I was really good at the drums, and I want to play the drums again. I can't wait. I love the drums. It's like it feels natural for me to play them. And like instruments were always good, and like knowledge wasn't really too hard for me. Like anything I tried to learn, if I just put the time into it, I could learn it. I think really, except for people that have like mental issues, I think a lot of people like if it's the thing of like at the time when you think of how you're doing things, you don't think about it in the moment of what you're doing to restrict yourself from doing it, being like, oh, I don't want to do this, like this is useless. And then afterwards, of course, hindsight's always 20/20. You look back and be like, oh, well, I didn't have to restrict myself like that. Like I could have just done it. I think a lot of people that think back to school, a lot of people that slacked off in school think back and be like, like I slacked off because I just didn't find it interesting. But a lot of it's just like there's no reason for you really not to do it other than the fact you didn't want to do it. If you would have just done it, then people would have learned a lot easier. And I'm saying that as a person who slacked off a lot, and then looking back, and then saying I restricted myself too much by just saying I didn't want to do it and putting it off, and then also taking those lessons and now putting it into my life now, where I'm like, I hate myself being like, I don't want to do that, and then I say out loud, no, do it, and then I just go off and do it. And there's been a lot of times where I think of something depressive, like. Because my brain sometimes, because I still suffer from major depressive disorder and severe anxiety, so all the times my brain still brings back like something like really dark, like just a dark thought, and just like looms over me. I literally, out loud, I go, no, fuck you, and I just start walking, and I feel great. I don't know what it is. It really works to just feel bad, and then like it almost feels like a fire inside of me being like, no, fuck you, I feel great, and then like. Goosebumps come over my body and I feel better and I walk away.
There you go.
It's such a weird little thing for me. I know, of course, like I'm not saying everyone can do that. Like people have their own mechanisms. I'm not telling everyone to go out and just start saying fuck you to the world. It works for some people, but a lot of people, they don't operate like that. They don't have a weird brain. I guess everyone actually kind of has a weird brain. Everyone's really weird.
Everyone's weird in their own way.
They just don't want to talk about it.
Some people do, some people don't.
I love to talk about the weird stuff. Because I think that goes into my entertainment thing of like, I like to get the response of me being like, oh yeah, and then I enjoy this, and people are like, what? No. This is like, that's funny to me. I'm just like, yeah. Like any reaction I can get out of, except for like hatred, any reaction I get out of somebody is just like fuel to my fire. It just eggs me on. Yeah, I'm really excited for the future. And that's something that I haven't been able to say for a long time.
Well, I'm glad you can say that, and I'm excited for your future as well, my friend. But I think that we've been recording for about an hour now.
Yeah.
So probably should whack this up. Wet ass pussy this up. We are in a wet ass pussy this episode of Off the Rails, my guys.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Great day. Hit us up on all the socials. Absurdity69. Check us out at Facebook. Absurdity Entertainment on there, right?
Absurdity Entertainment. Also on YouTube, Absurdity Entertainment.
And Spotify, YouTube, all that jazz.
The sorts.
Yeah, Cam's not here to do it, so we're going to botch it. But
I mean, you know it.
You know it.
Stop pretending. If you don't know it, learn it.
Exactly.
What are you doing with yourself?
Like, heart, subscribe. Have a good one, guys.
Say like, heart, subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.